Good morning. Buenos dias. It's still morning, isn't it? It's a beautiful morning, and we all have gathered in this beautiful church. And we thank the parishioners and Father Benny and his staff for the hospitality in welcoming us to this new church. This church was dedicated in April of this year. April of this year, we dedicated this new church. And we are presently in about 36 construction projects in the diocese right now. We are growing. We are growing. I think that deserves an applause. My brothers and sisters, in times, the best way to teach anything is to tell a story. People love to hear stories. Y es la manera en que en el pasado enseñaban los ancianos con cuentos. Uno puede sacar algo ahí del cuento. And I remember as a child, before we had a television, I am that old. My father is the one who told us stories. He told us stories of the West. He was a cowboy, or he was a sheriff, or he was an Indian chief. I mean, always he had these Western characters, and his part of the story was always how he met my mother, how he saved my mother. You know, he was the hero. Y yo me acuerdo de los cuentos de mi papá. Cuentos que él nos decía como niños nosotros para entretenernos, pero también para contar el amor que él tenía hacia mi mamá. Jesus is the great storyteller. And today we hear a story that is very well known by us. Es la historia del buen samaritano. Y en esa historia podemos ver personas como nosotros mismos. No hay nadie en esa historia que no es en un sentido parte de quien somos nosotros. And so we see that in this story, there's a road, the road to Jericho. And we can imagine that. We know what it is to be on a road, to be on the road. Y este camino es hacia Jericó. And the story says that there's a man there that has been robbed and left half dead, beaten and left half dead. He's on the side of the road. Not to bother those that are walking in the road. He's on the side. And some see him, the Levite and the priest, and they walk to the other side and pass him by. We can see ourselves in that because we've seen people on the side of the road. We've seen them, and we pass them by. Es algo que pasa hoy en día cuando vemos a algunos que están ahí en el camino donde nosotros nos encontramos y nomás los vemos o no queremos verlos y cruzamos el camino. Es algo que pasa hoy. But Jesus' question to the lawyer is, who is the neighbor? Who is the neighbor? Now, I think we can identify, hopefully, with the victim because we know what it is at times to be forgotten. We know what it is at times to be alone. We know what it is at times to have been abused, to have been robbed, where it seemed like nobody cared. Muchos de nosotros hemos vivido ya esa vida de estar ahí al lado del camino como la víctima de abuso, la víctima de la pobreza o de la avaricia de otros, la víctima de un sistema injusto. Sabemos lo que es estar ahí, nomás ahí al lado del camino. So we can see ourselves there outside the gate, hurt, wounded, forgotten, afraid, alone, misunderstood. Can see that maybe because of the way we look or where we're from, or the language we speak, or the class we belong to, or our age, we're treated as if we're just at the side of the road. We're passed by. Hemos vivido eso de ser la víctima. Hemos vivido eso. Ser la víctima sí es estar en un caos. Estar en un caos. Uno no sabe lo que va a pasar. Uno no sabe lo que va a traer mañana. Uno muy apenas puede vivir el hoy. Cuando uno se siente olvidado, marginado, cuando uno es abusado. And so we've lived that, and we have to identify with that. Otherwise, we can't understand the story. We have to get back in our time when we have been the victim of other people's decisions, of greed, when we've been the victim of stereotypes because of our age, our gender, our orientation. We know what it is to be at the side of the road. And that is extremely important. That's the chaos we are living. And we don't know how it's going to end and what is going to happen. And in the story, Jesus tells about someone entering that chaos, like Jesus enters ours. Entering the chaos of another is mercy. Entering the chaos of the other is mercy. And this Samaritan entered the chaos of this victim. Eso es la misericordia, de entrar a acompañar a uno que está en un caos, en una incertidumbre, en unas tinieblas, con un miedo. Entrar con ese hermano es la misericordia. Y es lo que Dios ha hecho para con nosotros. Dios siempre está allí, porque Dios es misericordioso. And so when we enter that chaos of the other, we show mercy. Mercy is our willingness to enter, to see, to touch, to accompany, to bring hope, to walk with the other. So the Lord in the story says, who is the neighbor? And the neighbor is the one who entered the other's chaos. That is the neighbor. And the command is then, go and do likewise. Go and do likewise. Hemos vivido este año de la misericordia y hemos tenido eventos en las parroquias, familias han hecho algo para entender mejor lo que es la misericordia. Unos han comprometido unos actos de misericordia como grupos de oración, como grupos de la parroquia, como familia. Hemos tenido presente, porque el Papa nos ha pedido que enfoquemos este año en la misericordia, y en las parroquias, casi todas hicieron una cruz de misericordia, que estaba ahí siempre durante el año en el santuario o en un lugar ahí, en la iglesia, en el templo, para que nosotros pudiéramos ver más, sentir más lo que nos ha pedido el Padre, Santo Padre, en este año de la misericordia. When I was driving here and walking up, I asked somebody, is this Riverside? They said, yes, Bishop, this is Riverside. I said, okay. I'm looking around and I thought I was in Las Cruces. Because our parish has brought the crosses that the parishioners made, that the parishioners had before them during this whole year. to remind them what the Holy Father has asked us to focus on as a church, and that is the mercy of God. And some of us have made commitments, and we've worked in parishes on certain projects. We've studied what it is to really be a church that is merciful. We've challenged one another. We've dialogued. Some of us have made pilgrimages to places like Mary's Table or Martha's Village, places where the poor are fed. Some of us have gone to jails and prisons to see our brothers and sisters incarcerated. Some of us have reached out to the hungry and to the homeless. We've done it in a different way this year because our Holy Father has said, let us focus together on mercy. And some of us went to the churches that were designated as shrines to receive the indulgence that the Holy Father said would be ours. We followed the precepts of the church. And so we've done these works of mercy. It's been a year of emphasis, prayer, of attending to our brothers and sisters with acts of mercy, the corporal works of mercy. And the crosses here that I blessed as I walked with the priest up into the church, all your crosses were a prayer of gratitude that I placed before God for the outstanding work that you have done in your parishes. Pero eso no es suficiente. No podemos terminar este año de la misericordia y nomás volvernos a lo que fuimos antes de este año. Nosotros hemos salido de nuestro camino y entrado en la ruta de otro. Uno sin hogar, un preso, un indocumentado, un hambriento. Hemos hecho algo como parroquia, como grupo, como familia. Y cuando salimos de nuestro camino y entramos en la ruta de otro, eso es ser misericordioso. Es lo que Dios ha hecho para con nosotros. Today, the road to Jericho is our world, the world we live in. And there is no lack of thieves, of robbers. El camino de Jericó hoy es el mundo en que vivimos, donde no faltan ladrones. Se roba de mil maneras, se mata también de mil maneras. And so this road is ever present to us. And there are always robbers, always those that will rob in different ways and even take our lives. Today, on the road to Jericho, people are being robbed because of abuse. People are being robbed because of hunger and homelessness, of domestic violence, violence between different groups, because of greed, because of drugs and illness and fear, because of confusion, because of being rejected or labeled. That's on our road today. Siempre hay en este camino víctimas. Nosotros los hemos visto y lo hemos vivido. Personas que no tienen hogar, personas que han vivido un abuso, personas que les falta trabajo, personas que viven con miedo, con temor, personas que es duro para ellos confiar en otro, hermanos y hermanas en las cárceles. El camino hacia Jericó en el mundo de hoy está lleno de víctimas. Today's road to Jericho is filled with victims. And what will we do? I would be remiss if I didn't say that the division that exists in our country, the polarization that exists in our country, begs for mercy. begs for good neighbors. We cannot excuse anyone or dismiss anyone who may feel afraid, who may feel forgotten, who may feel that they are being singled out, picked on, who may feel that they've lost so much in their own dignity. We can't say they shouldn't feel that way. That's where some of our brothers and sisters are today. That's their road, and we must be there with them. They must know that others care. We can't generalize, and we can't say that people are on one side or the other. We're all on the same side, all of us, with our own particular preferences, our own particular likes, our own particular histories, but we cannot walk by the other who has been left on the roadside. We cannot. And so we ask, what do we do? We need to find ways of understanding, of listening, of praying for each other, whatever that road might be. There are others today that are so much in pain because a loved one is ill or dying. There are others that are in pain because they see that some relatives are suffering from Alzheimer's or difficult cases of autism. We can't walk by these brothers and sisters. We cannot close our eyes. We are to carry the mercy of God to them. We must enter their chaos. And in that, they will remember God's love. Así es que, mis hermanos, no podemos ser ciegos a tanta necesidad que existe. Aún por causa de estas elecciones que hemos tenido en este país, algunos se ven como están ahí al lado del camino, que los están robando aún su dignidad, porque no los ven como seres humanos, como hijos de Dios. Nosotros no podemos quedarnos ciegos a eso y cualquier otra injusticia y cualquier otro problema que existe con el hermano. Who is the neighbor? You and I have to be the neighbor to those that feel or are victims in whichever way it shows itself. We need to show that mercy lives. Mercy lives. Mercy is really what gives credibility to the gospel. Mercy lives in mercy lives. And we are the ones that carry God's mercy to others. Tenemos que seguir adelante. El Señor nos ha dicho, anda y haz tú lo mismo. Lleva esa misericordia al más marginado de tu familia, de tu vecindad, del mundo. I have asked each parish to take the next few weeks in prayer and discernment to see what it is as a parish that they want to carry into the next year as a work of mercy. Maybe it is something they are already doing, but they want to that has they feel a need to address it. But it is done as a parish or with neighboring parishes to carry on the works of mercy beyond this celebration, that mercy lives in mercy lives. So I've asked each parish to take some time in prayer during this coming Advent season, and then to proclaim on the Feast of the Epiphany as a parish, this is how we carry on this year of mercy as we enter a new year. We cannot let it end today, and there's so much need in the world. Tenemos que seguir viviendo el año de la misericordia cada día de nuestra vida. Y yo pido que lo hagan como parroquia, discerniendo en este tiempo que vamos a empezar de Adviento, y de proclamar a la parroquia lo que es ese acto de misericordia, que se van a dar énfasis en sus propias parroquias. Pero cada uno de nosotros podemos hacer lo mismo, personalmente. ¿Qué voy a llevar yo? ¿Qué me ha dado Dios que puedo yo compartir con el hermano? Porque yo soy el vecino, yo, el buen vecino, cuando comparto con él la obra de la misericordia del Señor. So this has been a great year, a great blessing. There's been disappointments in different ways in families, in society, in our country, in our parishes. We don't deny that. But we know that God's mercy lives, and that you and I are bearers of that mercy to one another. May God hear your prayers. May God give you strength. May God give you openness. May God give you patience to be good Samaritans, neighbors of our brothers and sisters. Y que el Señor les bendiga a ustedes, el Padre, el Hijo y el Espíritu Santo.